Thanks, Jimmy, and thanks, Justin, for that great demo. I'm a birder, so totally excited about it, and it was good to see Elasticsearch in action. I'm going to just do a quick demo of showing Voxel 51 integration with Elasticsearch, but I'll also talk a little bit about Voxel 51 on the way and show you some of the capabilities. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to load the data set, and the data set we're loading is Quick Start. This is a very small data set. It's not necessarily the greatest data set, but it loads quickly and all the things go quickly for the demo. So that's why we're using it today. Now we're going to launch Voxel 51. So we just loaded our data. Now we're going to launch Voxel 51. I've set auto to false because I don't want Voxel 51 to appear in the notebook. I find that not a pleasant experience. So we just have to go over to our browser and say, no, localhost dash, guess what number? 5151, double 51s. And now we're in Voxel 51. So this is an app, a server actually running on our local machine, interacting with all these images. And so what we can do, it can do stuff in real time. I love it. Okay, let's get back to what's going on. So what you can see here in the screen is these blue boxes are the predictions where that is in the metadata. So this ground truth and predictions are actually in the metadata, not in the actual image itself. So we can say, okay, let's do the chicken one, right? We can say, okay, what is the ground truth? What did someone annotate as a chicken? A bird, not even a chicken, just a bird. There's a couple birds in it. And then we can say, what did the model that whoever did this prediction, what did it predict and where? Right? And so you can actually see that the bird, like it has different bounding boxes, multiple bounding boxes. This is a great way to look at where your model's doing well and where it's failing. The other thing I find this great for is when you're doing predictions, you don't want all the predictions because it predicts multiple things. You want it to predict things that it's comfortable with or it gave high confidence in. And so I can do stuff like turn up the confidence to 0.75 and then watch what happens, right? So now I can see that 0.98 is great, but if I put it up to that, then I lose these two little birds on the side. But this is a great interactive way that would take a ton of code for me to write and a bunch of going back and forth between command line and all this other stuff. And here we can just play with it on the fly interactively. Um, so you can also do the other thing, looking for bad tagging, and just scroll the other way. Right? These are all things that are like a sheep and a bear. Like where did those come from, right? So these you can look for errors in prediction in your model. Um, so those are the kind of the fun stuff that you can do right away in the interface. You can scroll through your stuff, but that's pretty normal. Now let's go on to Elasticsearch. So um, Victor, Voxel 51 has the ability to take computed embeddings and store them in whatever data store there's an integration for, one of which is Elasticsearch. So what we're going to do on that data set is we're going to ignore all that prediction and ground truthing, and we're just going to do embeddings. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to walk you through this one. It says compute similarity. That's Elasticsearch code for calculated embedding. I want you to calculate the embeddings on this data set. I want you to use this model. Now we have brain key, and that's really important, and you may not be used to it, but what brain key is a unique ID that identifies this action that we're doing in Voxel 51 so that we can refer to the data that came out of that in later steps, and you'll see that. Backend, Elasticsearch, that's all I have to say. Here's the one I'm running, username, password. You can actually put that in a comp file, but I just put it here to make it obvious. You can keep that password if you want. It's some generic instance I'm running inside. And we say what metric we want, just like Justin showed, right? Like he had the cosine one, and so we're telling it a cosine here. So let's go ahead and compute our embeddings. And this takes a little bit. It has to load up the model and everything. So here it goes. It's warning us about Kibana. And there we've just calculated the embeddings for using Clip. Now let's use AlexNet. And doing this is one of the things I think is amazing about Voxel 51, and you'll see why in a second if you work with these models at all. One of the processes you go through is which model should I use? And this makes playing around and looking at different models super easy. So we created those embeddings. Now we want to do something with them. Well, the first thing we can do is we can say, let's look at let's reduce it to a 2D scatter plot, whatever axis. There's multiple options here. I'm just using the default 2D, like projection down to 2D projection. By default, it uses UMAP, and there's a link to it, and you can see the other ones. And what we're saying here to the computer is, or to Voxel, is use the same data set. Here's the embeddings I want you to use for the visualization. And then here's the brain key that I want you to actually use, right? So there's the name of that I want you to use when you create the new one, right? So this is creating another brain key called clip viz, just like we created a brain key up here with this action. So this is the one that's what we did. We created the components now of it. And this is the fun part, is that we can now go back to our browser. Because I put it in the browser, it doesn't automatically reload everything. It would if it was in the notebook. But now we can go here and we can say embeddings, right? And it says select a brain key. Remember, we specified that. Here's the clip brain key. This is the scatter plot for all the images in the data set. And so I could spend hours playing around with this stuff, like trying to find clusters. But for example, one of the clusters is this one up here. And let's just select some of the points from it and see what we want. And this is the amazing part. Get ready. Hold on to your seats. Boom. It's just those images that I selected in the scatter plot. And this is obviously something, that cluster is something related to food, right? And then if I'm done filtering, all I have to do is check this box and it clears the selection, right? And we're back to this one. So what we can do is also, so this is what I was talking about before. This has some nice clusters in it, but let's see how the AlexNet model did, right? And the AlexNet model has a totally different grouping. And let's see what this group is up here, right? This is, oh, I missed two, but we'll be fine. This is cats, right? And so here's the super fun part. Now that I've sampled the cats, like I've specified, this is my sample of cats. If I go back, don't clear the search, but go back to the embeddings and go look at ClipViz, those light dots down here is where the cats appear actually in the clip embeddings. And this is great for doing all sorts of fun things. All right, so that is some of the embedding work and the interactive, like everything being linked and interactive. The last thing I want to show you is we're going to do queries, simple queries, right? So the first query is I'm going to get the first ID of the first sample and then images, and then I'm going to do a similarity search using that query. I want 15 results. And again, I have to give it that brain key that I wanted to use. And then we just say, hey, update the view of the browser window or the view behind the browser window into the one we just created. So we'll do that one. Right. And so we should see, oh, hold on, it filtered. So that's another good thing. It was filtering based on the selection from before. If I want it to, I have to clear that first. And there's the cat. Okay, so this is the number one. And these are the things that this model thought were related to the chicken. This is fun to try to figure out. I mean, I see where the stripes are coming from. Not quite sure where this person throwing a came from, but that's for us to find out later as we dig in more. So the other thing I can do is I can compare that by using the Alex model, right? So like we saw those results. Let's see what happens with Alex. What did it think was related to the chicken? Okay, so there's some zebras, but these dogs are new. There's a building here, and I think that's probably the vertical stripes or something, some stripy feature, but I don't know what this kid with the umbrella is doing. Just hanging out. So there you go, where you can play around a simple query. All right, let's show another query. We know which image we want to do, not just the first one. All right, we want to actually look for an airplane. This is an airplane. I know I picked that ID just before this. So we're going to do the same thing again. Here's the ID of the airplane photo. Set that equal to the query, do our search again, and then we're going to take the view that comes out and set that equal to the session view. Okay, so there it's executed. And if we go back here, we get airplanes. So you can see that AlexNet, was it Alex? I think it was Alex, or maybe it was Clip. Clip did a pretty good job. This looks really good. There's a lot of planes or things flying in the sky. Has some errors, but pretty good. I'm not going to do the comparison again. That was the clip model. I'm going to show you just one other cool feature that we can do with the clip model, which is the multimodal search, right? And so we're going to actually now do a multimodal search because Clip supports that, and we can do it right here. So we're going to ask the embedding, do a similarity search on the word airplane. And so it should give us back things that look like an airplane. And we're exact same query syntax again. And let me go back over here. And we do. We get some airplanes. I don't know what this guy's doing here. I can see how the kites are kind of an airplane, but maybe this is the sky that dominates. But that's actually pretty good. I put in a word and I got images back. So that's a good example of multimodal right there. Okay, so that's it with the queries. This is a code that actually cleans up because these are persisted in my Voxel 51. All those operations I did are actually persisted in my Voxel 51 database, and I can refer to them in another session if I want to. They will be there for me to work with. I'm not going to do it right now because you can do it on your own. This is all in a GitHub repo with a notebook in it, and we'll put that in the show notes. And I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the cool stuff that Voxel 51 can do.